Just to be clear, no, we have not been out tanning. It's called, we had a soccer tournament this weekend, and it was a little warm. So I apologize again for my voice. One of the things that reminded me, though, this weekend was this. It's interesting, those things of, she's got her. It's one of those things that reminded me this weekend of what kind of communities we're connected in. It was really interesting conversation with another coach from another team that beat us pretty handily in our second game in the tournament. He said this to me, he goes, I was really concerned once I found out what you did. I said, really? Why? Because I've never been around somebody who's in the church and a pastor, and I didn't know how to talk around you. I'm like, wouldn't you use normal English? And we have this kind of relationship and this pseudo-friendship. We're not friends, but we're pseudo-friends. We're good competitive rivals. And okay, you beat me that time, but I'm going to hopefully maybe beat you next time. But it's this imagery as he's talking. He says, you know, it's really cool because you're one of the few people I know that still accepts me as I am. You know my journey. He's been married twice, just went through a divorce with an old kid that I knew, his now previous wife that was at West that I was around, and said, yeah, I know you're going through the divorce. Oh, really? Yeah, because you got to remember I'm on Facebook. Come on, that's where you find all the local news. It's not Channel 2 or Channel 11 or Channel 13, it's Facebook. It's that imagery of community. Watching some of the boys and gals both play in the games, and because they competed against each other, or they were on the same teams in club, afterwards they would go up and go, hey, nice job. And it was before we got all of our team stuff together that we would respect the game and respect our opponents and shaking hands. They would go up to each other and do that. Even players that earn their respect in the game, they walked up and gave a hug to, and I'm like, man, y'all stink. You must not realize each other stinks, and that's okay. That's why you guys can do that. But it's one of those things of asking the question, what communities are you connected in and connected with? Some communities are really simple. Well, my community at work. Maybe you don't want to be in that community because it's not the funnest community, but that is a community. It's a pseudo-community. Maybe you're really connected in your neighborhood. I'm not. Polly is way more than I am. I'm not that social with my neighbors. She is. Although I do have a BFF across the street. He knocks on my door anytime. TJ, can you help with this? Would you like to do? I would love to. No, but okay, I'll do it anyway. That's what I'm supposed to do. Sometimes our communities are our neighborhoods. Sometimes your community, especially if you have children, are the parents of those other kids you have because you have no other choice. We're going to do the rotation, please. We're putting ourselves in timeout while you take care of our kids. And next weekend, you can put yourselves in timeout and we'll take care of our kids. Just to take a nap for 2 hours. Community is all sorts of different things. Here's a question, though, to ask. What drives the community that you're in? The community that just finished for us was soccer yesterday. What drove us is trying to get to a state championship and trying to push ourselves to that level. That's what drove us. That was our focus. That was our aim. That was our purpose. That was our goal. So they said sometimes the community of parents is just to survive till they're out of the house. And let me tell you this, it doesn't get any easier. It still is, oh my gosh, what do we do now? Sometimes a common purpose is, if your community is your job place, workplace, is to get the task at hand. Whatever that task is, whatever that job is. To have that task be done. Sometimes when we look at communities and we say, my church is my community. Again, what is that common goal? If the common goal is to grow this community to be big in numbers, or the common goal and the common purpose is to fulfill budget, or if the common goal and common purpose is to you fill in your blanks, I wonder if we really miss the point. Matthew 16 talks about a rich man who wanted to be part of Christ's community. And Jesus says this in the Message. Do I not have it on there?
Yeah, Matthew 19.
Oh, that would be probably it. We'll see with, I'm right. That is right. My notes are wrong. Go with what's up on PowerPoint for once. Another day, a man stopped Jesus and asked, "Teacher, what good thing must I do to get eternal life?" Jesus, I really want to be part of this community. How do I join the crew? You got 12 guys that are hanging out with you and a bunch of other people that are hanging out with you, and I really kind of like the essence, the spirit of what you have. How do I join that group? Jesus answered him, I would love to have the inside of Christ. I know Christ has a special line to God, but I'd love to have the inside of Christ, that when situations come up, to not become emotionally connected, but just to, let me flip the question back to you, and let me ask you this question. That's what Jesus does. Why do you question me about what is good? God is the one who is good. If you want to enter life with God, just do what he tells you. And the rich man, again, I'm sure he went through the synagogue and all that in the church now for part of those in tradition, confirmation. He went through that part, and the man asked, well, what in particular? I can't make a decision myself, Jesus, so I really need some help blending this down and cutting this down. Again, Jesus' response is a simple, easy response. Don't murder, don't commit adultery, don't steal, don't lie, honor your father and mother, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's out of Deuteronomy, because Mark and Matthew hadn't been written yet. That's where Mark 12:29 through 31 comes out of his Deuteronomy. So here's this question. And I love this guy. He thinks he's done that. Don't commit, well, there's nobody I've killed. There's nobody I've stolen from, all these things. And he says, I've done all that. What's left? Okay, I've worked really hard on my own self to do and to earn my right into this community. So what's next? If you want to give it all you've got, Jesus replied, go sell your possessions, give everything to the poor. All your wealth will then be in heaven. Then come follow me. I love the Matthew, and I would like to know how he knows this. That was the last thing the young man expected to hear. And so crestfallen, he walked away. He was holding on tight to a lot of things, and he couldn't let bear of it. Couldn't bear to let go. The rich man missed the point. It has nothing to do with about money. It's that money was his God. Money was more important than anything else. He thought he could earn his way into this community. He thought that if I do this and this and this, and I did these things, I didn't commit murder, I didn't commit adultery, I didn't steal, I don't lie, which is a lie in itself because he's human, we all lie. Sorry, I don't know if you know that, but we're all in that realm. Honor your mother and father, love your neighbors, you love yourself. Obviously he couldn't do that because he couldn't give away all of his money to give it to the poor. Again, I love the imagery of Mother Teresa. I think she exemplifies this really well. Well, did exemplify this really well. When shoes were donated to her in India, she went through the box and found the worst pair and kept them for herself. Because her line was this: I don't want anybody to think I kept anything better for me than for those who God's called me to serve. That's what Christ is calling him to here. It's not that money is the issue. It's where's your heart is the issue. The rich man worked hard to do what was right, followed everything in the law. Again, I say this often. You want to take a good nap and fall asleep, go read the book of Leviticus. It'll put you out in a heartbeat. It's the law. If you do this, you have to do this. If you have to do this, then this is that sacrifice you have to do. He wanted to be part of the community, but he wasn't really fully committed. He wasn't really committed to the point of saying, I want to do something. I just want to make myself feel good. Community, being part of the community. And there's a term that we're going to talk about called Communitas. To be fully committed, fully equal among each other. Each person using their gifts and serving the community with a focus to live, to share Christ. See, the problem with the rich man is he thought he was more important than the others. Well, I should automatically get higher status. Christ says if you want to be great in God's kingdom, be the rich, right? No, it says be servant to everybody. It does not matter who comes through the doors, will we serve? It does not matter who God brings into my path, will I serve him? He thought he was more important than the rest, not the way God designed. Not be able to be committed to the whole body when ourself is more important. That's why I said the money isn't the issue here for him. He wasn't willing to give up. God has blessed some people with having riches and finances. That is not me, because I'd be more like the rich man. I go, oh God, I can't give that up. Remember Kylie and Kobe sharing about in Guatemala. At the end of the month, the churches there, at least that they helped serve, at the end of the month, they took their bank account to zero every month and gave it away to the poor in their community. If you saw some of the pictures in these churches, they had no money themselves. But they lived out what this was called to do. Jesus takes every time as a learning opportunity. As a coach, as a parent, I try to do everything as a learning opportunity. And Jesus did that right here. The next verse, in verse 23, he said, as he watched him go, the rich man, Jesus told the disciples, do you have any idea how difficult it is for the rich to enter God's kingdom? Let me tell you, it's easier to gallop a camel. I like the image of Peterson. Gallop a camel. It's not just walk a camel. But we're having this camel gallop. Have you ever seen a camel gallop on TV? They are some of the clumsiest looking animals I've ever seen run. I don't know how God designed their bodies to work, but they look clumsy. Gallop a camel through a needle's eye than for the rich to enter God's kingdom. And the disciples are hilarious in this scenario. They've been around Jesus for almost 3 years at this point, and they were staggered. Then who has a chance at all? Well, God, if the camel can get through, how does this work? I don't get this. They were still stuck like the rich man was. Jesus looked hard at him. I think he probably was shaking his head like, really, guys? You missed this still? How long have we been together and hung out? And you still are missing this? No chance at all if you think you can pull it off by yourself. Every chance in the world if you trust God to do it. The rich man wasn't willing to trust God. He wasn't willing to say, okay, God, here's everything. Peter, again, being Peter who he is, being bold, being brash, being Peter. We left everything and followed you. What do we get out of it? Okay, God, I'm committed to you. I've given up everything, but I still am. What do I get? Where's my reward? Where's my paycheck? Where's my attaboy? Hey, great job? Jesus' response, yes, you followed me. In the recreation of the world, when the Son of Man will rule gloriously, you have followed me, also will rule. Starting with the 12 tribes of Israel, not only you, but anyone who sacrifices, home, family, fields, whatever, because of me will get it back 100 times over. Not to mention the considerable bonus of eternal life. This is a great reversal. Many of the first ending up last, and the last first. The rich man and the disciples missed it. And I love the imagery of Matthew, because he takes an individual and he takes a group. All trying to be in this community with Christ because they missed what the focus was. They wanted to be part of the community. But Christ is calling us to something deeper. He's calling to this thing called Communitas. I want to make sure we do this. I manage a page for the ministerium in Alaska, and a pastor out of Tennessee that Paulie turned me on asked this question in one of his quotes. It says, on our deathbed, how many of us wish we would have spent more time with the church? That's all he said. He was like, no, I want to spend more time with my family. I want to invest in my family. Don't get me wrong. I want to invest here. I'm not saying I go, let's see, Sunday morning, it's 8:30. I probably should figure out what I'm doing. That's not what I'm saying. But it's this imagery of, are we willing to not abuse the freedom that God's given us, to ignore our family? Are we willing to be a community that steps outside of our world to live, share, to reflect God? That's what Communitas is. It's a Latin noun commonly referring to either an unstructured community in which people are equal. It's one of the things I like about this community. We all have different gifts, and my hope and my prayer is we each use the gifts. Not one gift is more important than the other. Well, I'm the foot. If you're my foot, you stink. But without that foot, I can't walk. Without that toe, I don't have that balance. No one thing is more important than the other. See, the difference is this. In community, it's an inward focus. That question, are we just focused on us alone? As I said in the very early stages, if our focus is only us, only growing here, we're missing what it's called to. Communitas is that social togetherness outside of society. My perspective, one of the things that's wrong with the church is we look at only ourselves. We don't look at how can we serve others that are outside our community for the sake of serving others outside of our community, period. That's Communitas. Community is focusing on encouraging others. We have to have that. Trust me. God knows when I'm struggling because He will have one of you guys text, send me an email, send me a Facebook inbox message, say a word to me that I need to hear from me. So we're not saying that to not ignore all the community components. But if our whole focus is only to encourage others, we're missing it. Communitas is a focus on the task at hand. If we read again what Matthew writes. Oh, big cough. Many of the first to need up last and the last first. Are we willing to do that? Are we willing to put myself to serve others just because God's called me to serve others? Community is a safe place. I know I am safe if I need to come and go, blah. I can do that here. It's a safe place. It's not a place that I have to be protected and can't be myself. Just as I shared earlier with a coach from another school, Communitas is pushing society forward. Kind of breaking some of those boundaries and those ideologies that people have about who is what. Kind of breaking those social aspects. You know how funny it is that people will sit and have a conversation with me and ask something about a beer? Oh yeah. If I can see through it, it's not very good. And they go, what? For me, it's okay to do that. That's pushing the social societies forward. If we were in England, guess what? It wouldn't be our society. We wouldn't go to Starbucks down on the corner after church and debate or have conversations. We'd go to the local pub and have a pint. In Germany, that would be the way. In France, we'd go get a bottle of vino. We'd get some wine and enjoy. We have to look at cultural context and are we pushing society forward? Again, not abusing anything, because that isn't appropriate either. The last one is this. Community is something to be built. That's what I shared earlier. If our whole focus is to grow numbers and to build our budget up and to have more of this and more of that, we're missing what we're called to do by the body. Communitas is experienced through liminality. I had to look that word up because I had no idea what this was. All this concept is out of a book called Exiles. And liminality, another Greek, Latin word, which meaning a threshold. Where participants no longer hold their pre-ritual status, but they start in the transition of standing in that threshold, between the previous ways of structuring their identity, time, and community, and a new way which the ritual establishes. This place of our tradition, our ritual in the church is we come together on Sunday mornings. Used to be Sunday nights. Now we're Sunday mornings. That is our ritual. That is our tradition. You go to almost any place in the world and church is Sunday mornings. In a conservative community, guaranteed it's Sunday mornings. In a more liberal community, I know some friends in California, their church is Friday night on the beach. That's the group that he's reaching. A friend in Hawaii, it's Sunday mornings at sunrise. Their sunrise isn't as early as ours, but that's what they do. And then they go surf afterwards. I'm not going to be shark bait, but they enjoy it. That's what they do for who they are. Today, hiking is a part of that liminality. Taking the church outside the previous way we've met. We're still going to be hanging out. We're still worshiping because we're connected together, but it's outside the normal realm. Next week, one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be coming together as a community, as a body, and figuring out how do we do Communitas more? How do we come together on a Sunday morning and not meet here for service, but meet to go somewhere to serve? Be thinking about that, because that's really what we want to do. We're not serving to get them to come into our community. We're serving them because God calls us to go and serve the least of these. What are ways for liminality to build Communitas this summer? What are ways that we can serve that's bigger than us? It's what Christ could call into. It's what Christ was telling the rich man. It's what Christ was telling the disciples. Hey, are you doing it to bring yourself glory and honor and do that? Or the song that we said, blessing and honor and glory and power to New Song Covenant Church? No, to Jesus. That's why we do it. It's not for ourselves. It's because Christ is calling us to do that. Be thinking through, like I said, next week, we're going to have the kids in here helping be part of this to come up with ideas. Maybe some Sunday we pick up park and say we're going to go clean this park. We're not going to stick a sign that says, New Song Covenant Church, clean this park. You're welcome, please join us. But we're going to do like we did, as I was sharing with a friend earlier this week, that we did on Good Friday. We're going to have a Nerf gun war. And we're going to have a blast with it. And we're going to leave flyers around, and because of that, we've had a couple people become part of our community. We didn't promote it. We said, hey, here it is, let's go. That's Communitas, that's liminality. Living out Christ, and Christ living out through us with goofy things. What's other ideas? What are some nonprofits that need that little bit of help? Yeah, we don't have a budget to do stuff, but we can go rake their yard, or we can go clean, or go do something, go paint. One of the things that I appreciate is that we've grown into a great community together. We like to be together. I could even say love to be together as a body. I watch that every Sunday after service when everyone is hanging out and talking and sharing life. That's a great community. But are we willing to become Communitas? Are we willing to step out and go to serve those that are least of these in our community, to be the hands and to reflect who Jesus and who God is? Or will we be like the rich man? Will we be like the disciples? But wait a minute, how do I earn this? Now we live it. It's not something we earn, it's something we live. Will we share our lives with our devotion to God? Not our perfection, but our devotion. Here's this scar, here's this scar, here's this boo-boo, this owie. Will we come before God and say, God, here I am, I surrender. God, these are my things and my issues, and even this morning, in my own journey, having to walk and say, God, here's things that I got to surrender because, man, I'm struggling with it. Will we become Communitas? Will we look outside of our realm and our world and look at how God has called us to serve our community? I hope so. Abba, thank you for the examples that you give. God, I appreciate that you have the rich young man, rich young ruler, and you have those that were walking with you, not still getting an understanding this idea. Community is important. Community is vital. Community is needed, but reflecting you, Communitas, is even more vital. Abba, help us to be drawn and think of ways that we can serve in our community, and in our serving just reflect you. God, I think of those companies and businesses that send their employees to the soup kitchen just to volunteer their time and their energy and their efforts, and to see those that come in just like, wow, it's more than just the company I work for. It's this other way I can help and serve. God, those companies and corporations are putting us as a church to shame because they're living out Communitas and we are not. Help us to, as a community of New Song, to figure out how you are calling us to live out that Communitas. In your name, amen.